What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first official episode of the Yes By podcast. I guess, maybe last week was number one. I mean, this is going to be listed as two, but one was the trailer. So, I mean, who really knows, I guess? At the end of the day, I'm the one making the decision. But hey, regardless, we got a great show lined up for you today. First things first, though, congratulations to Dawson Mercer, Alex Newhook, and Brian Chessman, the team therapist on silver at the World Juniors. Mount Pearl, St. John's, and Bay Roberts, well represented there. Now, we're working on building a nice aesthetically pleasing setup for those of you watching on YouTube, but for now, this is what we're working with, so please be patient, we will get there. Okay, but now the framework of this show, by the way, will be a theme which lies in the title. However, don't be surprised if we have other segments throughout that show. Like today, for example, the theme and title are This One Time on George Street. But we're starting the show chatting with Jordan McDonald, a photographer friend of mine from Ottawa who has never really traveled to Newfoundland. I told him to do his research, and he's going to give us 5 spots where he would head to right away, right off the plane, to take some photos. Then we've got Alicia and Sonja, the owners of Port Rexton Brewery, coming on to chat about business and beer. That is a fantastic interview, if I do say so myself. And then we are ending off with what I think will be my favorite component of this show, which is Tell Us a Story. This is where you, the listeners, can send in your story based off of the theme, and you can do this by emailing us at yesbypodcast@gmail.com or messaging us on social media at yesbypodcast. You can either try and schedule a time for a video or phone call in session, or you can type something out for me to read, and this will all be your story. Now, today's stories are from listeners in and around the theme of This One Time on George Street, like I just mentioned. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. This is the Yes By podcast, and I'm your host, Robert Greeley. Enjoy. Jordan, my man, the first official guest on the Yes By podcast. How's it going, man?
I'm great, man. How are you? It's good to talk to you.
I know it's been a minute, and obviously when I reached out, I started to reflect on how long we've known each other. It's been like 5 years now. It's pretty crazy.
It's been quite a long time, dude.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you know why I asked you to come on. You're a very talented photographer. You've never been to Newfoundland, eh?
I have not, well, briefly as a layover on a flight, but not, I haven't set foot on the ground outside the airport yet.
Yeah, that's true. Because you did that semester in UK, and a classic stopover is St. John's, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was St. John's. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you didn't get the camera out. You didn't get to shoot around. So my question to you was, as somebody who's never really been here, obviously excluding your layover, we're like right off the plane, where are you going to get your shots to? We're known for our scenery. You looked into like the Newfoundland and Labrador Instagram. They got a great Insta, eh?
It's so picturesque. I actually didn't even, obviously I know that it's a beautiful part of Canada, but I didn't even know how beautiful it was until you sent me that and I actually looked into it.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. Like I've lived here my whole life, and when you go on that page, you're actually like, whoa, holy smokes, right? But yeah, let's do a list of 5. We'll go with number 5, and then we'll kind of debrief. Yeah, I'm excited to see what you've come up with, to be honest.
By the way, if I mispronounce anything, I apologize to everybody that lives in Newfoundland. There's some things I just don't know how to pronounce.
Honestly, what's funny enough? I'll probably butcher it with you. So,
okay, so I would say number 5 would probably be Twillingate, if that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, you got that spot
on. So just from the scenery that I've seen there, just like on the coast, and I just think I could get some really cool drone shots from the water of the town. It just looks so nice. I don't know anything about the town or where it's situated or anything like that, but it just looked super nice to me.
Let's go with number 4.
Okay, number 4, I'm gonna go with Bottle Cove. And the reason I'm going with that as number 4 is because I've been trying to, and I've been looking into recently a lot, drone photography. And I think getting some drone shots of the coves, like coming in and out, of going along it and stuff like that would be very, very cool.
Oh, no way. Bottle
Yeah.
Cove. So this is actually funny. enough because I just had to look it up because man, there are so many like little like
Yeah.
nooks and crannies, and like
Yeah.
I'm driving to like photo spots, and I have like a particular thing in mind, and I'm like, you're going through like almost like 8 different municipalities like as you're going, and like you're seeing different names.
Mhm.
So I just searched that up, and it's a hiking trail like in the area of Lark Harbor, and
Okay.
I'm not even joking with you as this is coming out and people are listening, I'm in Lark Harbor right now because
Oh, really?
I'm doing a whole road trip. It's an 8 hour drive from where I'm at. And I'm basically documenting the whole thing. I've got this like Lark Harbor house that I'm staying at. It's like super beautiful and the views are incredible. So I'm actually going there for the first time, like literally like as people are going to think this is almost like scripted now, but a hundred
I
percent.
promise you that it's not. I didn't tell Robert any of my rankings beforehand, so this is totally not scripted.
Yeah,
But you might
but
want to check that out because it was actually really cool.
yeah, no. So I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna be doing a whole bunch of content. So I mean, hey, thanks for the ability to plug something in my own show so seamlessly.
No problem. No problem at all.
Let's go with number three.
Number three would be Grossmore National Park.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like I don't know much about what's classic and what's cliche to go to, but this seemed like something that was pretty big on the Newfoundland Instagram page. And how could you not? It just looks so picturesque, and just the way that the water runs through it, and I don't know. That was one of the ones that really made me want to go there like immediately.
No, that's honestly so common. That's like every person's first thing. The funny thing
I
though is like
figured, yeah.
I'm on like the St. John's Claremont side of things. That's where I've spent majority of my time. So I've actually never done it myself. So like it's on my to do list
Is it?
because that was like my main thing when I was up like in Ontario and Ottawa. Like people would mention that a lot. I'm just like, guys, I don't know what to tell you. Like, yeah, it's beautiful from the photos, but I've never actually been there myself. Like I think that one's another like 8 hour drive for myself, right?
Okay.
But it's on the list, and I mean hopefully COVID goes away and you can fly in and we can do that together.
I would love to. That'd be sweet.
Okay, so number two, I'm curious that that's three. I'm curious with two and one now that like Gross Morin's number three.
Okay, so I really, so one, two, three are like are the big ones for me,
Mhm.
because I don't know, it was just hard to choose between the three of them. I want to do all three pretty badly, but then the top two are also pretty good. So for number two, I'm gonna go along the theme of the coves, like I did with Bottle Cove. So I'm gonna go Spiller's Cove for this one.
Okay,
Pretty much the same reason. I just find it more interesting to look at.
yeah, and I mean as you're telling me this, I'm also like Googling because like I said, there's so many different like coves.
No
And,
worries,
like
but check this one out. It looks really sick, and it
yeah,
reminds me of like the coast of the UK too, which is where I lived. For anybody that doesn't
yeah.
know, for a little bit. So it reminds me of the coast of the UK, which is kind of nostalgic for me. So I want to check it out.
Yeah, no, this is a great spot, honestly. And what I love about this too is like you're giving me different ideas now to go to these places because like a lot of times like when you're in your own environment for so long, it's nice to get a different perspective because then you're like, "Oh, hey, I haven't even like because if you either like drive past it or you just don't really know about it, it's almost like you see it every day, so it's not anything special, but as soon as somebody looks at it differently, it's like, "Oh yeah, like let me go check that out."
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
so
very cool.
the big drum roll for number one.
It's another kind of cliche one, but man, I have to. I saw one or two shots of this on the Newfoundland Instagram page, and the Cross Lake shot of the battery at St. John's. I have to get it. It's the number one. I need to tick it off. The reflection in the water, with all the colors in the houses and stuff like that. I have to get it. And I even think like doing portraits and stuff around that area, like in the actual town and stuff like that too, would be sweet with all the colors and stuff. So it would be multi-purpose. I know it's cliche, but it has to be ticked off.
No, I love that because I personally I love the battery. Like driving is absolutely terrible, and
I can
I
only
would
imagine.
never do it. I because I did it one time with like absolute shit weather, like it was terrible,
Mhm.
and I did it like in the tundra, so like a big truck, and it's like honestly it's like a driveway, the roads, right? Like it's one way. Like
Mhm.
if you're going this way and someone's going that way, like somebody's got to back up, and like But yeah, no, it is so beautiful. I think the photo you're actually referring to is Gord Follett. I don't know if you actually checked it, the photographer, but because I remember seeing that shot recently too, and he is a fantastic local photographer. I've never met him. I've never even chatted with him, but I know he's one of the better ones around here for sure, in my opinion.
Very cool. Very cool. I did not check it out, but I did save it, so I'll check with it, and I'll tell you later because pristine shot. It was so clean.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely the one that I'm thinking of, and yeah, honestly, okay, so that's your top five. We went
Yeah.
from
Do you have any notable mentions that you want to throw in that are some of your favorites that I didn't mention? Because obviously I looked through an Instagram page and Googled a couple things. I've never been, and then, so do you have anything that I'm missing?
I
Anything that you
mean,
think that I should definitely check out if I go?
I like the two that like the gross morin, like the stuff that's on my list, and like obviously I've done the battery before as well,
Mhm.
but I think like down around that Bonavista area, like where like kind of like my neck of the woods, not really, because Claremont and Bonavista obviously have their big hockey rivalries and stuff like that, and we're still like an hour from each other, but
Mhm.
like down around that area, like Bonavista, Port Rexton, and you also have on the other end, and this is like this is one of the biggest things that I love, and I think you'll love it too, just because like you're like you really do embrace that like European culture, especially like living in the UK. Like I know this is up your alley. So where my grandparents are from in Grand Bank, you drive for about 5 minutes, and you get to this town called Fortune. You
Okay.
hop on a ferry, and it's like a 20-minute ferry ride, and you get brought to an island called Saint Pierre et Miquelon, and it's actually France territory. Like it's a French island. Like you need your passport to go there, so you're technically in France. So it's not really Newfoundland, but again, that whole area, like the Burin Peninsula with like Grand Bank and like Fortune, but then like even like adding a little extra, like I'll call it zest to your trip by like getting to experience France, like in North America, essentially. So I think that combination too would just really be up your alley.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, hey man, this is I think this is a great start, first ever guest. I know you're a busy dude, and also you probably want to watch your Eagles hopefully maybe clinch the
Don't really.
NFC.
I don't want to see it. It's probably not going to be something that I want to see, but I appreciate you thinking of me that way, though.
Yeah, it's been a tough year for NFC East fans, not even Eagles fans, honestly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, anyways, man, hey, I appreciate it. And honestly, anybody who's listening to this and just enjoys photography and on it, like here's an underrated part of your Instagram page, because obviously people come for the photos, but your Instagram stories, man, they're always very insightful. I always get a chuckle out of them. I like them. Yeah, I definitely worth the follow, Jordan McDonald. I'll link it all down below, of course.
Thank you very much for having me, dude. I really appreciate it, and it's an honor to be a part of this so early on.
Yeah, man. Let's hopefully we'll get you out and we can do a whole video where you're actually physically in the province. We'll screech you in too.
I would love that. Let's do it.
Okay, that was so much fun. Thanks again, Jordan, for joining us and being the first official guest of the Yes by podcast. Now, beers and business. The Port Rexton Brewery has risen to be one of the best brews on the island. But how did they get there? We're going to find out here right now. All right, Port Rexton Brewery's in the house. You guys got a great setup there, eh?
Yeah, how's it going over there?
Oh, not too bad. It's been a minute, eh? I think it's probably been what, a couple years now since we've been down around in that area.
Yeah, lots of things are happening our way, and yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. Well, you're right. I think when we first opened, but visited us a couple years ago, so lots of change for sure.
Yeah. So tell me, what's the setup you guys got there, right? We'll get that right out of the way there. The brews that you got right in front of you.
Oh, these ones,
Oh.
yeah. So right now I'm drinking a gluten-free sour with mango. So we started to launch and dabble in the gluten-free world as I got diagnosed with celiac, which we might probably get into a bit later.
And I'm drinking Chasing Sun. It's a hazy New England style IPA that, as you can see, nice and hazy and lots of sort of fruity, juicy hop character that one of my favorites.
Yeah,
we do. Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess, we'll just dive right into it and start right off. I'll get you guys to introduce yourself first, for the people who are listening and watching.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Alicia McDonald. I'm originally from Toronto, Nova Scotia. I am the co-owner and brewer here at Port Rexon.
And I'm Sonja Mills. I grew up in Clarenville, here in Newfoundland, not too far away. And I am co-owner and business manager for the Port Rexon Brewery.
Awesome. Yeah, Clarenville, one of the best towns in Newfoundland, the whole province. Might be a little far.
Yeah, represent.
Yeah. So, one thing that I love with, your guys' story before you started anything was you guys were really in your own career paths doing a bunch of different things. Let's, go right in there.
Yeah, so my background was in nursing, nurse practitioner by trade, I guess, by education. And I was working in the offshore industry for a couple of years off Sable Islands in outside Nova Scotia, doing a 2-week on, 2-week off rotation. So my 2 weeks off is kind of how we got interested in beer. But yeah, my career path was initially chosen to be nursing. Sonja has a very different one as well.
Yeah, so I was in the legal world. I had been practicing as a lawyer for about 5 years, I think, before I started diving into this venture. I started, when we moved back to Newfoundland, I started doing some legal research so that I could free up a lot of time to work on the business. And it wasn't long before we were just had to put all of our every waking moment into this venture. So yeah, that's mine.
So tell me about those first early stages. When did you guys realize that there was a need for a brewery, and I guess why Port Rexon as the location? And I know the building that you guys got down there too is beautiful, and I think it used to be the old school at one point.
Yeah, so I'll get into the history, I guess, of how we moved to Newfoundland first. And so we were very well versed with the craft beer world in Nova Scotia. So we were living in Halifax at the time. Again, super craft beer fans. I was home brewing. We would go to visit breweries. We'd make road trips. We'd go all across province, even to New England states and other provinces in Canada. And our vacations were beer focused, and we had a big passion for it. And while I was home brewing and we're in our careers doing okay, and we just thought, okay, this could be an idea that we go into.
Well, I remember, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I remember being at our house in Halifax, and Alicia was like, well, I think we could do this. And I was like, no, we can't.
Yeah.
So
Lawyers are very risk adverse.
I was like, no. Anyway, but she was, no, like, I think we can. And yeah.
So we were looking actually in Truro, my hometown. And at that time, I think there was 30 some breweries in Nova Scotia. There's currently 52. I think in the last 5 years it's kept growing, but unfortunately Sonja's father got sick. He got diagnosed with ALS. Very prominent lawyer in the province as well. So we moved back. Sonja had a pretty good job.
2015.
Yeah, so she had a good law job that let her leave the office and work from home. And me being a nurse, I could work from anywhere. So we moved back to Newfoundland and Clarenville to look after Corwin. And we just noticed there was a big lack of rural breweries in this province, and we saw the success in other provinces, particularly Nova Scotia, and we started looking at the possibility. We shifted our business plan, had to do all new research and talk to all the other breweries and get their sales and data and stuff, which everyone is more than willing to share. And so that's kind of how we first got to Newfoundland. And then, if you want to pipe in about how we got to Port Rexon.
Yeah. So, I mean, having grown up in Clarenville, I used to come down this way a lot growing up with hiking and family trips. Most weekends, I felt like in the summer, we were definitely down this way. So on top of that, I have some, family friends that live in Port Rexon, the Fishers. Grew up skiing with Luke since, I think we were 12. And so I was familiar with the area, knew some people, and so it was kind of where the first sort of thought went to was look down this way. And I remember it was around Canada Day weekend in 2015 that you were still in Nova Scotia for something, and so
finishing at work.
So I did a drive down the peninsula just to take a look for a laugh, see
what's for sale,
just for fun, like. only half it's on realtor.ca. So anyway, so I ventured down, and I remember just coming across the building that we purchased, and just as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to look on the inside of this. And I arranged a viewing, and you weren't back yet when I did the viewing, right?
No.
So we're probably FaceTiming or something, but anyway, looking inside, I was just, as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, gosh, this is it. Like, I could see this here and this here. Here's where the bar will go, can live in the back, so that we could focus on setting everything up. And within a weekend, I think we had an offer in, and it just happened quickly, and it just made sense. And, my friends were, in the town itself, and it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous area and town. We just love Port Rexton. So it just all kind of fell into place and made sense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with I guess, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Skirwing Trail typically ends itself on the the gym class list for a lot of people in Clarenville. So I'm sure you were down there lots doing that.
I'm a little bit older than that. Skirwing wasn't quite as developed when I was in high school.
Okay.
But I mean, putting a brewery at the end of a hiking trail just made sense as well, right?
Oh, it was right up our alley for what we wanted to do. So, yeah.
My bad. Didn't mean to try and.
Oh no, that's okay.
Day yourself.
I'm good. I'm my age.
Yeah, I think I tend to maybe forget the generation that I grew up in sometimes.
We're all the same age once we're over 25.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right? Okay.
No, I'm a 97, so I'm turning 24 this year. We're getting
cool. That's the year I graduated high school. Class of 97.
This is so fun. I like this interaction. I'm having a lot of fun right now.
Maybe it's the beer on your end, eh?
I'm just now going to have another sip.
So yeah, I mean, developing a business is never easy, and obviously you made it sound like such an easy decision, but when you're purchasing a property such like that, obviously there's a lot of challenges, and you talked about regrouping everything as well. What do you think were kind of your first roadblocks that you would attest to, and what do you think really helped you guys get over those?
Well, I'll let Sonja speak mostly on the business side. She forgot to mention that she also has her MBA, so she's very well versed in business. I'll say on my perspective, Sonja already mentioned, my biggest hurdle was convincing Sonja it could be done.
Right. Once I was like, okay, which I got it. Yeah. On the inside, like, I've always wanted to own a business. I've always had that spirit and always looking for something and trying to figure things out. Even tried to start my own law practice briefly for a fleeting moment. But the initial hurdles were really convincing lenders. We were applying for government loans and whatnot, and permits and everything, convincing everybody, or trying to get them to understand what we were trying to do, because it was something that was just completely, they've never come across it. For our jurisdiction, we had to deal with Service Newfoundland a lot, for example. And so there's no breweries in the Clarenville, like the area that, our office served.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the same thing with our lenders are based out of Clarenville, those offices. So it was, the lenders was actually the easier part, because it made sense when you could start to talk about the tourism side of things and this and that. But the permits we had to get, at one point,
we were held to.
At one point, yes, a couple crucial people that we needed their approvals for were treating us like a big, massive, hazardous, like it's going to explode on the drop of a dime kind of operation. And so we were held to this crazy standard of safety, which, not safety in the sense that, we always want to be safe, of course, but everything had to be explosion proof or this or that, or something where, you just can't afford to build things in that way. You had to enclose every single aspect. We really wanted to have the open concept for our brewery and into our tap room, which we had seen at many breweries across not just the country, but even in other, down the States and whatnot. And that's a really intriguing part of the tourism aspect. And beer is only 5% alcohol on average, and that's not going to explode. So it's, trying to convince, regulators that no, it's okay to have an open concept.
The inside joke that we have, I'll just pipe in, is I think the comment was actually, well, like your beer could catch on fire, like like some alcohols can if it's enough proof or whatever. And I said, I've only ever put fires out with beer. So, like if you're at a bonfire or something, the last bit of your bottle goes on that fire.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't blow up.
We're okay.
So it was very challenging to try to, make them understand what we were about. I do want to tell one other story about we were drilling our well. I don't know if you've forgotten this.
Oh, probably erased there's probably a lot of things I've just erased.
Most other breweries, I think there's only maybe us and another brewery in Newfoundland are on well water. Most other are on municipal water, and so we had to drill a well, and within the first week it had collapsed.
Right. Yeah, I did try to erase that from my
so that was a big panic, thinking, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to drill a second well, we're gonna have to buy another piece of land because we don't have enough land to drill a well on our own. So it was just a nightmare for a couple of weeks that I remember being both of us being extremely stressed, and a lot of calls to Adrian there. Anyway, I just wanted to pipe in with that story. TCII he was with. Yeah. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Getting started. I mean, no, I think those were two of the major things, and just paving the way, I don't know if paving the way is the right word, but even the people that we dealt with at the NLC, for example, they were very good to work with, but we were something new for them because whoever worked at the time when, say, Kitty Vitty first started, or Yellow Belly first started, or Storm, which were the only 3 breweries that opened prior to us, a whole different slew of staff worked at the NLC at the time. So we were dealing with people that had never in their careers had dealt with a new brewery opening up. So it was a bit of a just spending time researching with them to figure out what we needed, or what was involved in the process, because they basically create a checklist of, we'll give you a liquor license once you've done everything else, like all your other permits and licenses and whatnot. So it was a lot of extra research and figuring things out with all the different regulatory bodies, and knowing who even had a state, who we even had to deal with. But it, all in all, I think those were the 2 biggest ones of the largest headaches. Yeah, for sure.
And so, going through all that, opening day comes. What's the initial response? How are you guys feeling? I guess a lot of excitement.
Oh, actually, we'll add one last little quick hurdle right at the very end, but it wasn't too bad. But the blonde that didn't be.
Oh yeah, so we talked about opening. So we're opening, scheduled to open, January 23rd, July 23rd was the date, and so beer takes a couple weeks to brew. So I brewed ahead of time. We were picking that day because it was Port Rexton Days. The Port Rexton Rec Commission holds this thing with the town council, and so we were trying. We knew it would be busy, and or lots of people around, and wanted to open. So there was a beer that I brewed, the Vacation Blonde, and it just didn't turn out. So, our one light beer that we had to open with, because we had our Horse Shops IPA, which is a very bitter West Coast IPA, and our T-Rex Porter, which is a dark beer, which people just shy away from because it's dark. Those are the only 2 beers that we had available. So our light, easy drinking.
Our blonde ale was dumping down the drain when we were, but we had to commit to opening. We did have the 2 beers.
So that was a bit stressful, trying to open with just 2 beers, and we in our minds thinking we were have 3. But we were excited. It was a lot of fun. We had a little soft opening the Friday night before, where we invited some of the contractors and family and friends over. We did open Saturday without a float, without any change.
Oh wait, we need something like that.
Yeah. So as we had young new business owners, we didn't quite have it all together. We didn't have our dishwasher, so Sonja's brother was washing glasses all day.
Oh, thank God he was here.
It wasn't pretty, but it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of great support from the town. The town's been great.
We had
from day one. So.
We had no employees at that time, so it was literally. So Alicia Brewing and well, I mean, for opening day, she was behind the bar with me along with my brother. But it's a whole new world of, oh my gosh, I've never really run a bar before. And both of us,
Yeah, no.
it's
different. Yeah, but a lot of fun.
Oh, but yeah, the support we had that day was incredible. You know, and the whole rec commission showed up and supported us, and tons of people from the town and in the surrounding area. It was a really beautiful day. Yeah.
I think my personal favorite, by the way, is the T-Rex. You know, I'm saying that's still a good choice for opening day for sure. Once one of the things that I want to talk about now, because I absolutely love just the feel, like when you walk in, you really do. I think you've captured really well the history of that building and just the vibe. And you've mentioned you wanted that like open concept so people can kind of see what you're doing as well. I guess take me through the creative process of like the construction behind like the interior of the building and like having that open concept as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think we one of the, like, we didn't have, you know, designers, like a design team, a company, or an architect or anybody. It was just us, and it was kind of a figure out as we go type of creative process, I guess, for that space. I think we had the basic idea of, okay, the bar makes sense to be here. Let's open up this area and let's put the brewery down there. But then as we were going along, we were, you know, taking the paneling off the walls, for example, that was covering up what's currently there. And we just loved what was underneath. So then we said, oh, let's just paint that. And they were the actually original walls from when it was a schoolhouse. We had somebody in the community, a woman in her 90s who was a teacher there, and came in and commented on, you know, remembering the boards that, you know, were on the walls there. And same thing with, there's a great big beam over the top, and there's also kind of it's almost like a backsplash wall sort of above the brewery. When you're in the tap room, you kind of look at this great big sort of just boards kind of diagonally across. Mm-hmm. And that was something we didn't plan for. As soon as we took the paneling off, we said, we got to keep this wall.
It was an interesting, I mean, kind of think about it after the fact. It's an interesting, dichotomy might not be the right word, but trying to keep the feel of history, you know, because trying to respect that people once went to school there. Sonia went to a dance there, I think, school dance there at one point. So people have stories, and yeah, it was a community center after it was a school. So people have stories there, and they want to walk in and feel it's kind of still theirs. You know, changing it to a big industrial with lots of stainless steel and sharp edges probably wouldn't have worked as well. So yeah, that feel, and just keeping it easy and bay, you know. When you walk in, kind of that Nan's kitchen feel. That's what you want to kind of walk in and just feel cozy, feel like you said, Skirwing Trail is there. So coming off the trail, and you want to walk into somewhere comforting. So we have a lot of comfy chairs, comfy seating. We've got a couch now. We got a fireplace now that, since you've been there, wood stove is in place. So you definitely have to come back soon, Robert. But yeah, so I mean, we didn't really have anyone professionally design it. It was kind of us just in our own tastes and flavors of being around the bay.
And there's also the I'll just add one thing. We had to replace the sill around the wall that is closest to the road, and so that meant we had those nice, beautiful boards right down until a sheet of plywood, and so the whole base was just plywood. So we said, okay, we have to cover that with something. Just around the same time, my cousin from Connecticut, he has a place in English Harbor, and he was out at the time, and he had an old shed down by the water that he was taking the siding off. He was replacing the siding on. So there was this red kind of worn clapboard that he was like, do you guys want this for something? And we're like, yes. Well, your instant response is yes, I don't know where, but yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we had it all, we brought it all, dumped it at the end of the driveway and said, ooh, let's cover that plywood with this clapboard siding. And it's now been like the perfect addition to the tap room. Yeah.
No, I love that. My grandfather, before he passed, he would kind of drive around in the evenings and just kind of make note of things like sticking in people's driveways and stuff like that, whether it be different vehicles or whatnot. And he'd write it down in a little book, and then he'd come back in a couple months and he's like, okay, that hasn't moved. And then, a month go by and he's like, okay, yeah, still hasn't moved. And he'll go and like make an offer, and then he'll refurbish it and stuff like that. So
Wait. Oh.
I can see totally doing that.
Yeah.
So one thing that seems to be a common theme, when you guys were really getting the wheels going, it was just, you two, and like opening night, it's, you're brewing, you're also bartending, you got your brother doing the dishes and things like that. Once you started like hiring employees, kind of take me through that process of now trying to bring in people to also like embrace the culture and of what you guys want to accomplish. And then, also at the end of the day, having to manage those people as well now.
I think one comment I'll have initially will be that we've been extremely fortunate that I don't know if it's combination of the business, the location, the vibe, everything. Somehow we really attract top-notch people, and we've been so fortunate that it's, the first thought would be, how challenging will it be to say convince somebody to come and live in Port Rexton to work with us, or people in the area, do they want to work, or the younger crowd, do they want to leave? Like there's all these questions. It's not the typical traditional challenges you might think of something in a business operating in rural Newfoundland. It's been almost the opposite experience for us. So we're really, really fortunate about that.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think when our first employee we hired was basically, Jane, helping me out in the brewing side, because I was finding it difficult to brew in the day and bartend at night. And we started adding more tanks, and it was just getting a lot. So Jane came in and helped out, and she was a home brewer. So she had experience, she had the knowledge, she had the smarts, highly educated with her own profession. So there are people in rural Newfoundland that do have a certain skill set.
Yeah, she only lived 20 minutes away.
Yeah,
in Little Catalina at the time.
Yeah, so
Port Union.
She was in Port Union.
Catalina.
Yeah,
Catalina. Port Union. Okay.
Anyway,
I know where the house is.
So we've been super fortunate also with I'm going to speak from the brewing side, to have people that were interested in working and moving out here. Some of those people have gone away to other jobs. Some have gone away to start their own breweries, and some are currently working at other breweries. So just to see people, wanting to relocate out here. There are some that stay. There are some that move on to their own projects, which is great to see. Go Rough Waters, super pumped. So yeah, and from Sonja's business side, like she said, we have really great social media team that was 40 minutes away, now moved locally. We have another new hire, two new hires, I guess, that are born and bred and stayed in Port Rexton. So it's a great team that we have here, and we're like super excited to have them on board.
Yeah, I mean, the social media aspect, because that's always my field, and I love seeing it. And you guys, you really do hit it out of the park with that. I think in terms of like on the island in particular, you guys definitely do it well, I must say.
I'm going to put a definite shout out to Danielle Etheridge on that.
I have nothing to do with that. So
she takes care of our social media and the photography and everything, and just knocks it at the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, entering the brewing community in Newfoundland, and you mentioned there was a couple breweries there before you guys. Is it competitive where, you find yourself, I guess, maybe looking over your shoulder, looking at like what the other person's doing a lot? Is it competitive field, or is there more like, kind of what you mentioned where you're almost all celebrating for each other's success? And I guess what would also, really differentiate a brewery from each other?
So firstly, definitely not, from our perspective and our experience, not competitive. If anything, it's like we all collaborative and lift each other up kind of industry and vibe. It's never perfect, but the general sense is we're all in this together to try and grow our segment of the beer drinking market in Newfoundland. So you've got, say, that beer market, I think around the time that we entered, or after a year or so of us being in business, craft beer only took up about 3% of beer sales in the province, which is tiny. It's a fraction. So, we work with the other breweries, craft breweries, to try and grow that percentage, and it just benefits all of us. So as new breweries come online, then more people in the province are exposed to craft beer. They've got their local brewery. It's awesome. And then from, other aspects, we're all still learning. Like, it's going to be a lifetime of learning, just like anything. So there's so many ways we can all help each other out. Something breaks and we've not gone through that before, somebody likely has. So we call up our friends at the other breweries and say, hey, well, I mean, you can speak to this more closely. Or, all of a sudden you find yourself short of some grains, or.
Yeah, there's definitely a collaborative feel. I think things that, we're never watching over our shoulder or anything, but I do take notice of what other breweries are brewing, just to kind of see what styles are on the go.
It's almost like being aware of where trends are going and just being cognizant of that. And it's also inspiring, I think.
Yep. Seeing people do interesting stuff and say, oh, I've never done that before. I wonder how they did that, or, whatever. And you just reach out to them and they'll basically share the recipe with you. So it's definitely a collaborative feel. Yeah, it's which is great to see, because like Sonja said, everybody working together is just going to keep eating away at that macro percentage of beer sales in Newfoundland, which helps us all and helps the economy.
No, 100%, because it's definitely something that, the more it grows, the more local opportunities and stuff like that. Because I guess, how many employees do you guys have again?
It varies depending on the time of the year. So in the winter, when our tap room is operating very, very minimally, I think we're at about 8 employees around there. But in the summer, we're up around 15, I would say.
And that's all added right back into Port Wexham, right? Which is great.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Justin from Kitty Bitty said it well. He said craft breweries are totally inefficient. Like, if you look at the amount of liters we produce compared to the amount of jobs that we have per liter, we are way less efficient than Molson or Labatt. I think he actually said that Kitty Bitty has around the same number of employees as those macro breweries do in the province. However, Kitty Bitty is a lot smaller and already has like more jobs, or at per liter than they do, and all that money stays in the province instead of leaving it into owners that live outside of Newfoundland and whatnot, or management teams or whatever the case. So it's definitely every community, the money, you can see the economic boost in each of the communities, and the spin-off businesses as well, and whatnot. So it's really great.
Yeah, because you guys have a food cart and a food truck in the yard as well during the summer.
Yeah, that's a total symbiotic relationship. It's awesome. Without them, we wouldn't be half of what we are, and vice versa. It's perfect.
So now, this is the part that I wanted to ask about, which I'm most excited for, is just the creative process of making beer. So how do you, start from scratch with an idea and turn it into something that's in your glass?
Yeah, so that's little bit more challenging with me now, being diagnosed with celiac. But what it used to be for me was just what I was interested in drinking. So if I went to a brewery, or if we went to a brewery and had a really good beer, or a really good, I don't know, IPA or sour, or any type of dark beer, or crazy, Belgian quad or something, you just kind of get the sense of the flavors. I do a lot of research. If I knew the brewery, I would talk to them and see what kind of adjuncts they might put in. And then it's trial and error. I kind of have a motto of, if you're not trying, you're not trying. So you basically have to try it. And if you fail, then you're going to learn from it. So it was kind of an interesting process as a home brewer. Now it's a little bit more strategic. We have our brewmaster who is an educated brewer that went to schooling for it. So he's able to kind of dial it in a little bit more than say my try it and see way.
Throw some of this in.
Yeah, I was a little bit more floofy with how I would go approach things, but I came up with some pretty good base recipes that we have now. A lot of our flagships were ones that was try it and see. So now it's a little bit more strategic. It's a little bit more. It's still inventive and fun. I think it's part of that's what keeps it interesting. And like Sonja said, trends. So, we're constantly looking to BC or Portland. West Coast usually gets the trends first, then they fly east. So kind of seeing what's on the go there. At one point, brewed IPAs were the thing. So we tried that once. Sours are always a trend. Fruited sours became a trend. So it's just a fun way to keep up with things by looking to see what other breweries are doing. But yeah, we do have a little from my gluten-free side, I have a little 1-barrel pilot system, which allows me to do my try it and see a little bit more strategically as well, rather than wasting 4 barrels of beer. So yeah, it's a fun process. Coming up with the name of the beer is probably the hardest part, I would say.
Oh my
Brewing beer
gosh,
is easy.
yes. It's stressful sometimes.
Naming a beer is stressful. Yeah.
We've had like some intense sessions with like our staff, like,
Yeah.
okay, we need a name. We need something that's like, it'd be like, nope.
Yeah.
And then like we could be driving somewhere and then all of a sudden it'd be like, what about this?
Yeah.
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 What was the most frustrating name to come up with? Who crowns that title?
Frustrating?
I think our Continuum series was pretty hard. There's a lot of hard discussions about that.
Yeah, that was
So we do a
heated.
Continuum series was basically an IPA base recipe that we would throw in different hops. So 1 week we would try a different hop, and then 3 weeks later we try a different hop. But the grain recipe stayed the same. It was more about a showing off the hop character. And so we knew that it was just always the grain bill would be the same. We'd sell at the retail shop. So that was the challenging one, I think, where we were like, I don't even remember.
How do we capture this fact it's like
going to continue?
Serious?
Yeah. So.
Oh, we had a list. I had like on my phone, like a notepad, all these ones. We kept eliminating and then adding, but nothing was really like sticking.
And you always come up with a good name, and then you go on. There's apps like Untapped, which is a beer rating app that individuals can go on and rate a beer from a brewery, and it gives you a good sense of where you kind of stand in the country. But anyway, sometimes the name is taken like by another brewery. So you're like, damn, okay. Like,
back to the drawing board.
That was such a good name, but now somebody in Ontario
or whatever. Yeah. So, but I feel like something easy like Chasing Sun. I think we were just driving on the 230, and I don't know if that's where that one came. I feel like we were somewhere, and it was just like Chasing Sun.
Yeah.
And boom, it was like, all right.
Yeah. T-Rex Porter was also easy. That's Thomas Rex was the last principal in the schoolhouse there where the brewery is. So thought that was kind of a little shout out to him. So
Nice.
You're right. Vacation Blonde was kind of straightforward for yeah.
No, I love that. A lot of my buddies up in Ottawa actually use the Untapped thing. I worked in this like a smokehouse bar and restaurant up there.
Yeah.
So we'd have like a lot of craft breweries either on tap or in cans and stuff like that. So you'd see a lot of people on their phones taking a couple of pictures and tossing it up on that.
Yeah, getting the little badges. Yeah.
You've mentioned being diagnosed now with celiac a couple of times, and I want to chat with that. I guess when you first found out, what was the initial reaction? Because I mean, you were surrounded by a beer that's just yeast and making beer. Yeah.
Barley is now my nemesis. I mean, I was I'll do a quick version. I was having a lot of symptoms. Finally decided to go to the doctor after Sonja kept. Can you go to the doctor? Yeah. It was
nurses
cute.
Are so frustrating. They'll never they'll never go.
It was cute. My family doctor, knew what industry I was in and very gently said, your TTG, which is the blood marker, is high. You need to get a biopsy done on your stomach. So, my initial reaction was, well, shit, now what? Like,
I had no idea what any of that meant.
yeah.
I panicked.
So, I knew that it was going to be probably bad. I shouldn't say celiac is bad, but, challenging for me. For someone that relies on, building recipes, like I said, through flavors and tastes, it was extremely frustrating. I found it really heartbreaking and frustrating when staff would sit around and do sample tastings and stuff like that. Slightly getting over that now, but still, it's a huge mental game from working in the industry, but still proud because our staff is so good and they're still putting out great products. I think. So
100%.
yeah. So, but it also opened up new doors. So we know that there's a large, moderately large volume of gluten-free or gluten intolerant individuals in the province in Atlantic Canada. So, gluten-free brewing is not easy. There's not a lot of research out there. So I ended up having to hire a consultant in, he was in Seattle, I think, or somewhere in Oregon, maybe, to help me out. Ghost Fish Brewing was a brewery he worked at. So, using millet and buckwheat and corn, not a lot of the typical enzymes or dextrins or stuff like that you would get in your typical barley. So it's very difficult to achieve, from my perspective, what I'm used to. So I think I'm still pumping out, slowly a good product. So hopefully we'll be able to see more in the future of the gluten-free side. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's a lot more common, and you're seeing it more and more. I mean, one of my best friends up in the University of Ottawa, she's gluten free as well, and my little sister, she's probably too young to be drinking the beer. How important was it for you to really, kind of hammer down that gluten free line?
I think I did it more out of stubbornness, to be honest, for myself. I was getting frustrated. I'm brewing beer in my own brewery and I can't taste it. So I was getting a little bit frustrated. Like I said, it was a huge mental thing for me. So I think we just, Sonja was super supportive and said, well, why don't we just try this? We'll spend, well, not whatever you want, but we'll spend the money on consultants. We'll buy you a pilot system. We'll buy the grains, which, I'm getting shipped from Colorado. And so the shipping is just atrocious from there. So
there's no business case for brewing gluten-free beer. There's like zero margin. It's very expensive, but I think she's doing awesome things. Yeah, and thanks. It's what's the word? It's leading edge. Like, I don't know if anyone in Atlantic Canada is doing truly gluten-free beer from gluten-free.
There are gluten-reduced beer, which means you add an enzyme, which basically breaks apart the gluten to make it so small that it's insignificant. So in Canada, gluten-free is gluten-free. In Europe, say the EU, you can have less than 20 parts per million of gluten in your beer, and it would be gluten-free. So depending on where you are in which country, Canada says, 0 parts per million. So it needs to be gluten-free. So there are other breweries doing gluten-reduced beer, which would be safe for gluten intolerant or wheat intolerant or whatever people. But yeah, we just thought it was, like I said,
not a gluten-free,
not a big business case, but it's, I think it's making people happy, and I think people are excited for it. And I know that it, as someone that enjoyed beer and now can't, it was very important to get that out there.
It's super exciting to be able to offer that and have it as an option now for people in Newfoundland. Yeah.
No, I think it's great. The second I first saw that, I sent it right away to like my really good friend at the University of Ottawa, and I was just like, hey, like, take a look at this. Like, I was like, here's another reason for you to come to Newfoundland and check everything out. I think she's finally trying to figure out the trip. Obviously, COVID is killing the tourism right now. But I mean, the one thing that I wanted to chat with, and obviously, COVID's affected it, but you guys have thrown some really incredible events, whether in the garden or elsewhere and things of that, different tastings and stuff. I guess, kind of chat about the different events that you've been able to pull off, prior to COVID, what you're doing now, and some of your favorite ones to really, put together.
I think I don't know if you're going to pipe in there. But yeah, so Danielle, also our social media, she's also our taproom manager. So she, her tagline, she's the creator of fun. So, what's going to get people in the door and make them have fun. We've done crazy things from Dog Days of Summer, where we just invite vendors of, that sell dog scarves and leashes and dog treats. And then, people bring their dogs into the beer garden and, just stuff like that. Some people might drink beer, some people might not, but it's just an avenue for people to come out, enjoy the sunshine and have fun. We also our regular events would be trivia on Thursdays. We have open mic on Sundays, and
the youth market is always a big, awesome community.
Yeah, we did
focused.
A little mini market where we invited the youth in the community that, trying to inspire entrepreneurial activities for the youth, because it's all, sometimes you might not find a job, but you can easily create one. So getting them in there and bringing people in that way has been different and fun. I think during
Ales for Trail.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, Ales for Trails. I forgot about that one. Yeah, that was a big one too, where we it was a fundraiser for Hike Discovery, which manages most of the hikes here on the Bonavista Peninsula. So people pay a fee, which gets them their beer, T-shirt, and
A fun night.
And they run Skirwink if they're not too hungover, and they come back.
They get hungover the next day after the event.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just something to keep it fun and keep it relaxed. And of course our birthday celebration is always fun. So it's right in the middle of summer in July. It's busy. It's just fun to see people around, and
we try to get as many vendors as we can to come and just do pop-ups for that event, so people can come, and it's good for, possibly introducing some people to different vendors, but it's just a heck of a lot of fun. We've got oysters, we've got, oh my gosh, there's so many different things, like
there's all
baked goods. Yeah, it's just this awesome, you don't realize you're in a town of 350 people in rural Newfoundland, 3 hours from the city.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah, so COVID was challenging for sure,
Yeah.
where our tap room was closed at one point, and then events was just not possible for us. Just the amount of people that we can hold in our tap room was very low, so we haven't really hosted events during COVID, some other breweries have been able to based on the size of their space. But if we potentially hosted an event, it would just be busy, and then we'd have to send people away. And so for example, last winter we would have card nights. We had 120 nights or crib nights, which we can't quite do this year, so that's up in the air. When COVID first started in the spring there in March, we held our trivia virtually, so I hosted trivia online, which was challenging and different. Of course, we're on Zoom right now, so we use Zoom. Danielle was back there behind the scenes correcting all the answers that would come in through Airtable. So, learning the virtual world was new for me for sure. So yeah, we had some challenges for event hosting.
We actually have we've got a bit of an event coming up this winter, being led by Bear Mountain Coffee House, doing a tasting once a month for the next 3 months, paired with some live music and pizzas from Cabin 6 Pizza. So that's going to be really cool to start getting back into doing something again. Like Alicia said, other than virtual trivia, we really haven't done anything event wise. So really looking forward to that. And Bear Mountain, they've, kind of figured out how to do things safely in their space. It's limited capacity, and it's going to be a really nice, intimate time. So really looking forward to getting back into stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, especially the summertime, once we get out of the winter, Newfoundland is just, there's so much to do and a lot of great businesses. And I definitely, obviously I'm going to be biased, but I love that little trail from Clarenville to Bonavista. And I've, funny enough, I took a tourism class in my third year. And essentially we had to do a presentation on tourism and a concept. So we did the Fogo Island Inn actually. So Zeta Cobb's company. And at the end, I could notice we were losing the crowd a little bit. So, and we had a couple extra minutes to play with. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna roll with something here now. So I just kind of freestyled and I was like, hey guys, like show of hands, who here has been to Newfoundland before? And obviously nobody, which was pretty common in my, I didn't run into many people who knew where I
Yeah.
I'd come from. So I said, okay, so I was like, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna fly to St. John's, you're gonna drive, and then I basically just kind of like mapped out. I was like, you're gonna stop into the Bear Mountain Coffee House, grab a coffee, keep driving. You'll hit Port Rexon, do the hike at the Skirwing Trail, stop in after, grab a beer, then keep going to the Bonavista Social Club, grab that pizza and whatnot, and just kind of laid it all out. It's so funny too because it blew their minds and they all loved it. And I went into a lot more details with like describing like my favorite foods and like the specific beers and whatnot. I think we ended up getting like a 95. Like everybody was like really. I left us off on a high note, right? But
Right on. Yeah.
it's such a great spot, I gotta say. So now, I guess, how has everything been looking on just the business side of operating in COVID? Because I know you guys are doing curbside pickup and things of that nature. I guess what else are you in the area of now?
I'm not sure if you know, Robert, but we built a new facility. I don't know if you knew that or not. We're sitting in it right now. So this was a plan for 2 years ago. We started upgrading. I don't know if you can see all the big tanks. Yeah, so I don't show them all the mess now.
Oh yeah.
So opening a new production facility that is very expensive during COVID was challenging. Sonja did a lot of the project managing work, so she can probably attest to the stress levels that she had
Hi.
during COVID. Very high, yeah. But it's still been positive. It's allowed us to, because our tap room sales were non-existent or lower than we anticipated. We moved our business to packaging, which is canning basically for us. Keg, we still put stuff in kegs, but some restaurants were closed too, so they weren't buying our kegs. So being able now to actually produce a lot of cans more efficiently has helped us through COVID. We just kind of got going the last couple of months, but yeah.
Yeah, no, a couple key things. As Alicia mentioned about having to transition almost entirely to packaging at the early stages of when COVID first came on the go. Right around that time, Marie's Mini Marts, the owner of the vast majority of them, and they're all like family anyways, got on board with the idea of, okay, let's carry some more craft beer product. Let's support local and let's do this. And it's been an incredible thing for all of the craft breweries in the island. This opportunity that opened up just at a time when everyone needed to put beer into cans or bottles. Here they're saying, we'll sell it for you. We will create the shelf space for all you guys to come and do this. So that was an incredible change, and it opened up the door to just the whole convenience store concept of carrying a variety of craft beer. So that's been really, really cool. You mentioned the curbside pickup. That's actually kind of slowed down in the sense of before we used to have it really tight where we'd laid it outside the door and you came and picked it up off whatever and you bought it in advance. The legacy from that is you can still purchase our beer online for our St. John's retail shop. So you can buy things in advance and then come by and your orders all put together for you. I just have to pick it up and it's already paid for. But now people can come into the shop, for example, and if you wanted to browse or buy something just by dropping in, you can do that. And of course, our tap room is open, but we're still at half capacity in our tap room. So we're still feeling that effect. I guess the other thing is we covered our patio outside to help keep our capacity a little bit higher by covering our patio. If it was rainy out in the summer, people could still go outside, which was safer. We didn't have to limit it as much. It was a really good change for us. And of course, these things that we were kind of, pushed a bit more to do are all positive steps anyway for our business. But I think for a lot of businesses, being able to put the infrastructure in place to work from home if necessary. Obviously, you can't make beer from home, but all the other things, we can, stuff like that. So yeah, essentially how we've fared.
No, I mean, it definitely seems like you guys got a lot of exciting things in the pipeline. I guess very quick, what are some, we'll get into some more, I guess, fun things that people can kind of do with your beers and stuff like that. What are some foods that you think really go well with a lot of your brews?
Oh, so pairing beer and food is not my forte. Traditionally, I don't like to eat when I drink beer. But I've discovered I enjoy. Okay, so I'll back that up. What I've sort of come to learn from other people that know way more about this than I do is that IPAs go very nicely with fried foods. And I think the idea is kind of the little bit extra bitterness cuts through the grease in fried foods. Dark beer can be nice with chocolate-based things. So it's kind of like you either try to complement something similar or you find something that's almost the opposite.
To balance it.
Yeah, exactly. Hence a bitter IPA goes nice with a greasy fish and chips, for example. Whereas like a chocolate dessert is really nice with the T-Rex Porter. So that's the complementary pairing.
Cheese also goes good with dark beer too. So
okay.
You can also, so there's it's a similar concept to wine. You either find the flavors in the wine, whether it's those cherry, dark fruit, whatever notes, leather, whatever other notes are in wine, and you complement it, or you would go something to balance it out with like an earthy type of dish. So I think the theory is the same. Again, it's not something that I've been well versed in, and obviously don't really have a lot of experience in now moving forward. But I know there's probably somebody out there that would have a lot more to say. A lot of the restaurants would probably be good to talk to as well, because I know that they sometimes pair dishes with beers, not just
spicy food and lagers or light beers.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's not, we don't have the expertise quite in that sort of pairing kind of thing.
All of our beer pairs well with things from the Boreal Diner, Bottom Vista Social Club, Peace Covent, Wells. Just trying to plug all the Pitchers Love.
Of course, all my cheeses.
Round the Bay Inn. Just trying to, all my cheeses, right?
Yeah.
No, I think
Bear Mountain sandwich.
I think I'm the same as you. For the most part, if I'm drinking beer, I just like to drink beer, not to mix it with too much food. More beer pairs well with more beer, let's say.
There you go. Nice.
Exactly. And
Nice.
Miss Vicky's chips. That's my favorite pairing.
Just mention some of the partners that you've been working with, and obviously you mentioned you got the Bear Mountain Coffee House stuff coming up in the tasting. What are some of your favorite partnerships and collabs that you've done in the past and are looking forward to as well?
I know from the brewing side, every year we do what's called Next Generation, and that's just basically a collaboration with all the other breweries. So we started this, it was idea of one of the brewers we had on board on our team, and so the breweries that have opened the year prior. So in January we'll get together, invite them over. Which, gosh, we're going to do that this January. COVID, figure that out. So all the breweries that have opened the previous year, they come to our spot. We feed them, we fill them with beer, and we make a beer, maybe, if we're so.
But there's also leading up to, like, as a group, they all email each other and have this big group where they develop the recipe together, the idea, what they want to brew, everything. And it's then on the day of the brew, like the collaborative part is the development of the recipe and the idea, and then on the brew day it's just fun, and people are taking a turn stirring or whatever, but it's just such a good meshing of meeting everybody that is new to the scene, and
just learning from other brewers. What do you do here, what's your process, what and where do you buy your ingredients or whatever. It's
great
just
networking.
It's just good networking. It's a lot of fun. So that That's always something I look forward to. One that we did in the past, which obviously COVID canceled, was the collab. Again, from the brewing side, the collab we did with the St. Pierre Miquelon Brewery. Over there, we did a French Pale Ale. So missed the opportunity to do that again with them this year. But yeah, it's always fun to collaborate. We've done a lot of other food collaborations and stuff. But we've also collaborated with other businesses, like Sonja said, bringing vendors in and whatnot.
Yeah, and I mean, every year too, there's also the Brewski event we do up at White Hills, which is also a fundraiser for White Hills, because not a lot of people know, but White Hills is a not-for-profit run organization. So we try to get that word out and have an event to help raise some money to go towards it, because Mother Nature, as you can see this year, often likes not to cooperate. So that's a really fun event, and sort of, I mean, events, collaboration, it's all kind of mixed together. Like everyone's just supports everybody. It's really, really cool. Gosh, yeah, we've done beers for like
Businesses,
Johnny
restaurants,
Ruth. We did a collaboration with them in this fall
Adelaide.
for their 15th. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's always a lot of fun. I've been fortunate enough to experience one of those events and the collaborations that you've done, obviously with like the beer garden that you pulled off and whatnot a few years ago. I guess honestly, this is everything that I've wanted to chat about and more. Typically, this is part of the the show where I just kind of hand things over to you. So anything else that you guys want to mention or whatnot, it's completely your show now.
No pressure.
Yeah, thanks for putting us on the spot. Yeah, no, I guess I'll start with a big thank you to everybody, because COVID has really been, it's been good and bad for us. Like Sonja said, it created opportunities, but we've had a lot of support from the public and our staff, family, friends, and government, I'm sure. So it's been a very blessing experience that people are still buying our products. So big thanks to everybody for supporting us and continuing to look for our product on the shelves.
Yeah, now that we are almost fully transitioned to our new facility, now we haven't kind of gotten the production out yet from this, but we've pretty well got our tanks filled with beer, ready to go in the next few weeks. Hopefully you'll start to see our beer a bit more available. Even in Clarenville, I think, Bear Mountains and Bella's restaurant are the only two places to get our product currently. Like even the NLC store doesn't have any of our products because we've been running out of beer, basically. So with the new facility, hopefully we can get, those shelves stocked again. And it's just a bit more accessible to people around the whole province.
And I lied. I guess one last thing. What is the best way for people to support you right now? If anybody's listening and are either just discovering about you guys for the first time or are looking to help out more than what they're currently doing.
I would say definitely, try our product, but try other local craft brewery products to really give craft beer a good go. If you're new to craft beer, for example, you try one, you don't like it, don't stop there. Try other styles. It could just be a style. It may not be that brewery. It may not be, it could just be you don't like sours. So, definitely a way to support all of us is to just keep trying new beers, introduce craft beer to your friends and your family that may not have. It might just be a Coors Light drinker. Say, just every now and then. So my friend got me into craft beer to IPAs in particular. Just kept giving me one, saying, just have one. Every now and then I'm just going to give you an IPA. And I was like, I don't like IPAs. But she just kept giving me one every so often. And then to the point where I was like, I really like IPAs. So it's just, every now and then switch a Coors Light for a blonde ale or maybe a T-Rex Porter or something, and have some fun with it. But I mean, I guess just go out, support, go to tap rooms, go to our tap room and other breweries tap rooms. That's probably one of the best ways to support the brewery, because you're not just trying their beer, but you're also getting a feel for who they are, what the company is. And, you know, we are Port Rexton, like, or Port Rexton is like, it's more than just our beer. It's the community, it's the feel, it's the story behind it, it's the people, it's all that kind of stuff. So you really get that from your tap rooms, as opposed to just going and to a store and buying a beer off the shelf. I don't know, Alicia, do you want to add anything too?
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much, guys, for your time. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, same here.
Thanks so
thanks for
much.
the chat.
Man, what a great chat about beer. And honestly, I think it's a great segue for our next segment of Tell Us a Story, with the theme of this one time on George Street. Now, to be honest, I'm a George Street rookie. I've been like twice, I think. I left to go away to school and never really got the chance to be a regular. But that's not saying things don't get wild down on one of the longest streets of bars in Canada. To be honest with you, some of these stories that I got for this first episode, they're a little PG-13, maybe 18 R-rated, so I don't know if I can tell them just yet. Maybe if you want, or we create an 18-plus section, because holy smokes, some of these stories were absolutely ridiculous. But we're just going to go off with one here right now, which might be one of my favorites. It's just so funny. So this listener writes in and tells us the time that he left the bar and went to go get a classic late night snack. Like you would, you know, everybody has that snack after the bar, whether it's pizza, shawarma for my Ottawa folks, you know, Three Brothers, we gotta go there. But he went to Subway, which personally I think is a red flag, because who gets Subway in their late night intoxicated snack session, you know? But anyways, he walks home with it, sits down, and he told me he took a bite into a sandwich and soaking wet, sogged in water, and he was like, Robert, like, I had no idea what was on the go. He's like, did I trip in a puddle or like what happened? Sure enough, he looks outside, pouring down rain. My guy walked about 3 kilometers and was that inebriated, he didn't even realize it was pouring down rain. And honestly, I enjoyed that a lot because I thought it was pretty comical. But if you have a story, if you have a better story, or you know, you think that you have the George Street story that tops all George Street stories, or just any story Newfoundland related that you just want to share, you can do that by making sure you send us a message on social media at YesByPodcast, or email us at yesbypodcast@gmail.com. Listen, I want to read your stories. Send them in. It's going to be, I know this is going to be my favorite component of the whole entire show. All right, everyone, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And honestly, I really am stoked about this new podcast, and I hope you all are too. Feel free to leave us a review, share it with a friend, comment down below, engage with our social channels, hit that like button. Honestly, I can't stress enough how much this helps us out. It gets picked up in the algorithm, sent out to more and more people. And, you know, we're going to put Newfoundland on the map even more so with this podcast. All right, this has been the Yes By Podcast, Newfoundland's #1 podcast show. I'm your host, Robert Greeley, and in the meantime, stay best kind.